to all my friends and listeners. I am finally doing a solo episode, which I feel like I've been putting off since day one. This has been on my to-do list since I started because this is a topic that I am obsessed with, especially this time of year. So this was the perfect time for me to put this topic in, and it's honestly one of my favorite topics. I am obsessed with goals. So I wanted to really kind of just guide you through how I typically like to unpack the year and prep for the new year. So this is something that I do in between Christmas and New Year's or slightly after New Year's. But I think it's a good outline to have if you ever just feel super burnt out and you're like, I need to restart, I need to refocus, I need to unload something that's been bothering me for months. So you can really do this anytime. I just like to do it at the beginning of the year. It makes me excited for the year. Do you ever notice how if you don't actually sit and reflect, like if the years just go by, the months go by, you're like, what even happened? And I feel like you forget about all like the wins and the lessons and like all besides like maybe the top three, there's so many things along the way that I think are such good tools for us to really prepare ourselves for the next year also. I'm kind of considering an event or one-on-one sessions to help somebody really build this out like more in depth. And I'm going to give you kind of like the cliff notes of what I usually do, but it's honestly so fun. Whatever, let me just explain. So before I build the goals out for 2026, I like to reflect on 2025 because I think that gives you a better idea of how you're going to implement new habits to really nail 2026 and leave things behind in 2025 that maybe didn't work out for you. We'll do some chapters here, but they're going to be quick. If you want the more in-depth, like the whole thing that I do, please DM me. Like I actually mean really actually DM me. So let's look back at 2025 because I think it's really easy to get lost in the I didn't do anything this year, or I should be further than I am, or this year wasn't what I thought it was. And it can be disappointing and discouraging. So I think it's good to look back at the year and think of something that happened every single month that you loved. So like your favorite moment of every single month. And there can be more, it doesn't have to be one moment. So go back through every single month and what was your favorite moment or favorite memory or favorite feeling that you had each month. Now, if I was doing like the full version, I would do each. So I would do like the best feeling, the best memory I felt. Why did you feel so good? Were you proud? Did somebody, do something extra special for you? Are you glad that you accomplished something? Did you just push yourself out of your comfort zone and say, I did the thing. That's my high. That's my win. Okay, I probably should have said this in the beginning, but I want you to write every single month and leave enough room to really unpack each month. So give the best feeling you had every single month, the one thing that went right, your favorite memory. Then I also want you to go back through those and say, what didn't work that month? What was your biggest upset from January, February, March? What was your biggest disappointment in that? What really shifted your energy? What is something you're super proud of every single month? What is something that you regret from each month? Did you go through a slump where you just were like, my energy was off because I got in an argument with my mom and then that, dragged on for 2 weeks, even though a lot of them might have sucked, those are the ones that we're going to really set ourselves up to not do in 2026, which is going to make us feel better and help us not repeat some of those past mistakes. Now, I want you to look at all the months and kind of decide what things did I tolerate for too long? What excuses did I use to not propel myself forward to what I know I need to do? What distractions did I have that really held me from my goals? Which maybe you didn't do goals last year, so you didn't even know what your goals were, but what distractions really hindered you from progress or success or happiness or peace? Is there something like that you used as a crutch to not move forward, or you used as a Band-Aid to stay comfortable? What patterns did you keep in your life because you didn't feel like addressing them? The whole point of the reflection is really to assess not just who's in your life, but how you're responding to it all. Now I want you to write down what habits really aligned with where you want to be in the future. Whether it was, waking up at 6 o'clock every day and taking 30 minutes to journal. I like how I use that as an excuse because I don't ever do that. I don't function in the morning well. It could be something like reading or listening to a podcast or doing a manifestation or meditation or something like that. What things did you implement this year that are really aligned with the direction that you want to go in your life. And if you did none of those, that's fine, because we're going to build those out today. In what ways did you grow this year? Did you grow in your own internal peace? Did you figure out who you are? Did you let go of baggage that really wasn't yours? I want you to think about what risks you took and which ones you were too afraid to take. I think that's a huge one. What opportunities did you intend to take and you told yourself you were going to do, but you either chickened out or you gave an excuse or you didn't feel like asking for help on something? I want you to think about who, maybe your top 3 people who stressed you out this year. And obviously it can't be like your spouse. You're not going to get rid of your spouse for stress because, I mean, maybe you are. I don't know. I'm not judging either way. But that's going to be the person that causes you the most stress. Obviously your kids, like stuff like that. But was there somebody that you maybe need to draw a boundary with that just stressed you out and you allowed to suck the life out of you this year? So maybe write that down. And then I want you to also write down 3 people who really showed up for you this year or made a huge impact this year. It could be like literally anyone. Who motivated you this year? Who made you feel good and made you feel like everything that you've ever wanted to do is actually possible and you're capable of that? So I want you to write down those people and then also the people who are dragging you down. Okay, now I want you to think about what things did you try this year that maybe didn't work out. It could be a relationship. It could be a marketing technique. It could be a diet plan that just was not your thing. You tried it, you did it, it didn't work. So now that you know that you're people pleasing, you're overcommitting, you're letting other people's energy bring you down, we're gonna leave these habits that we don't want anymore in 2025. This is why I like writing them down, because I feel like when you write it down, you can really leave it there. And also you can go back and look at it and say, hey, I was gonna drop this one off in 2025 and not carry it into 2026. So I think it's super important that when you are doing this, that you do write it down. So now we're gonna get into the fun part, the exciting part, the goal building for 2026, which is my favorite thing to do. So how I typically do this, I need to get my phone because I actually keep my goals in my phone so that I can go back to them whenever I need to, or if I feel like I'm getting off track. This is where they live here. I actually share the note. You know how you can share a note with somebody? I'll share it with a friend or I'll share it with Anthony so that it's like, these are my goals. I want you to keep me up on these also. Which like some of them might be financial goals, which is like a weird thing to like just share with anybody, but at the same time, share it with someone you trust. Okay, so when I build out goals, I like to do categories. And then in the categories, I like to build the goal out, but then I like to put the systems in place that are gonna help me reach the goal. Which if you've read the book Atomic Habits, the systems are like critical in reaching these goals. But you know what's crazy? So the first time I really did this the way that I'm explaining it to you was maybe like 3 years ago. I feel like it was 2 years ago. And I made some insane goals. Like they were, if you read them, you would be like, you're insane. What are you thinking? And halfway through the year, I'm like, oh my God, these like actually worked. And I didn't go through and obsess over them either. It was just like, once you stick to the systems, the goals just happen. But you gotta write them down. You gotta plan for it. You have to intentionally make yourself aware of the systems that you're going to put in place to reach the goals. But I do remember like 6 months in being like, oh, I didn't do that one. I didn't do that one. There was like maybe 5 or so that I was like, I am very far off from that. And I'm not joking, by November, I was like, how am I going? Like, I'm literally about to hit all of these. This is insane. When you're making the intentions of the goal, you have to implement the systems. Otherwise, you're just writing a goal. Like, that's like me saying, like, I even plan to win the lottery. Well, how am I going to win the lottery if I don't ever buy a lottery ticket? Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like the systems, they are it. Okay, so typically my first category that I do is business, just because when you think of goals, a lot of times you think of business goals, you think of finance goals, career goals, right? So I'll write down a sales number. This is how much I want to sell this year. Depending on what your career is, we can really break that down to what does that mean? How many customers is that? How many transactions is that? How many clients do I need to reach per month to hit this goal, right? Which, I mean, I think it's very dependent on what industry that you're in. Obviously, something like mine that's commission and very dependent on factors in the world that I can't control, like interest rates and economy and stuff like that, inventory. That's a little bit harder to really narrow down. But if you're in a sales job where you're one-on-one with customers, you're selling a product, you're selling a service, how many do you need to meet each month, each week, and to really obtain the goal for each month? So you can really break that down by month, by week, by day, realistically, if you really want to go that far. But again, this would be way better in a one-on-one situation because I can understand a little bit more of what you do and how it's going to work the best. But either way, I always do a sales goal. This is my sales goal for the year. I always make it significantly higher than the year before, because what is the point of reaching a goal if it's only matching what you did last year or slightly above? That is the whole point that we're doing this. We're not doing this to just get a little bit better every year. This is for like maximum potential. We're talking, all right? So set your sales goal, set your numbers goal. If we're doing business, what do you want to do next year? So now that you have your number, this is how I typically do my systems. So obviously I'm a real estate agent. I'm going to set my sales goal. Now my systems, how am I going to hit this sales goal? Mine is not going to be a breakdown as easy as I just said. A lot that's going to have to do with my sales is going to be my marketing, my network, me out in the world, right? What did I do last year? Okay, here's an example. This is how you're going to grow. Say you're trying to boost social media sales. You're going to do one strategic paid social media ad per whatever it is, whether it's daily or you're going to do an ad campaign for 14 days, take a week off, whatever it is. This is where you're going to build that out. So you're going to put that in there. This is all I'm doing social media focused. Posts per week, which this could be mailers per week. This could be emails per week, which I don't like getting emails every single day, so don't put me on your list if you are. My love language is not emails, so if you like to send an email every day, just send me a tag. Okay, this is hilarious because I'm looking at my goals from 2025 in January. These are my systems for achieving my sales goal that I just was telling you about. Minimum of 1 podcast a month, which means I would speak on somebody else's podcast once per month, which is hilarious because that just shows you that in January, I had no idea that I was going to be doing this. So I don't even need other people's podcasts necessarily. I actually did still speak in quite a few in the beginning of the year. But here's another one. And a lot of these, they don't have to make sense. Like you don't have to make them super specific. Okay, number 13 on my systems going towards my business sales goal, 1 mega extra marketing campaign opportunity. That means nothing. What does that even mean? But what am I doing now? Like, this is what this is. And you might not know what it is in the beginning of the year. Like, you don't have to specifically say what it's going to be. You're going to figure out what it is. If you're putting all these systems into play and you're thinking about this every day and you're reflecting on it and you're, paying attention to what's happening in your industry, the idea will come to you. So I had no idea when I wrote that down that this was actually going to be my 1 mega extra marketing campaign, which most of you listening to this don't even realize that this is a marketing campaign for me and everybody else that's on it. Here's another one, monthly VSL email. I hate getting newsletters from people, but I'm also, like I said, email is not my love language. I don't want a newsletter. So that's why we implemented a VSL. If you've been a past client or someone that we work with now, you automatically are gonna get that VSL. But again, once a month, I don't like overwhelming people. It's another task on my list of things to do, but it's a little bit more personal than just being like, here's what's happening with interest rates. Like that's so lame. So I think it is getting outside the box. How can I be seen in like a way that actually fits me, but in a way that also supports my business? So this is what's going to be in your little system things. I'm not going to share all of mine because that's why you're going to have a one-on-one with me. All right, now we're going to get into the second category of goal building, which is going to be finance, the one that everybody does not want to talk about. How much money do you want to save this month? What are you investing this month? What do you need to budget? Maybe you're not even ready to invest yet and you just need to like really hone in the budgeting. This is what you're going to put in your finance category. So you're going to have your 1, 2, or 3 main goals. I want to save this much. I want to invest this much, or I just want to get my shit together. That is going to be the goal. And then you're going to have the systems. Okay, what am I wasting money on? Okay, so for me, I think the thing that I spend the most money on that is completely useless is actually groceries. Because I feel like I buy groceries 3-4 times a week, and then half the time I either don't make them, we get carry out, we go somewhere, somebody has an event, then we don't eat, and then I throw it out. So I feel like for me, it's like really honing in the grocery list. Or meal planning, whether it's that. I'm going to figure out what I'm making this week. If I'm going to do carry out because we have baseball, then I'm going to just, mark that in the calendar that this day we're getting pizza, so that's not even going to be on my grocery list. But like, why am I throwing out like entire Costco-sized packages of steak because we're busy or I didn't do it or I didn't have time to do it? Like for me, like I'm just talking out loud. What are you doing like that you're like, why do I do that? It could be going out to eat. Maybe you're TikTok shopping way too hard. I don't really know. But get real with yourself, and that's what's going to go in your systems here. Or maybe you don't have a spending problem and you just don't save properly or you don't invest properly. I get connected with someone that's going to set me up properly for stocks or investments to really compound that money. One thing I always actually put in this category, and this is like actually so embarrassing, filing my taxes on time, When you're an entrepreneur, not extending your taxes, I mean, maybe I'm just an idiot. I have no idea. But when I owned a restaurant that I'm not going to talk about, I always had to extend because there were so many things involved in that. And I also kind of inherited this like when it was in a shit show. So I had to file extension like every year forever. I think I'm 2 years strong on filing the taxes on time. That seems like a really, really stupid goal. And I don't know why I'm sharing it with you, but that was a big one for me. I think I'd rather be physically tortured than do the taxes. So for me, that's a huge one. Maybe for you, you're like, that doesn't even bother me. I can do that in 5 seconds. Cool, good for you. I love that for you. But for me, that was hard. Every time I wrote my goal down that I'm gonna get my taxes done on time, I've done it. And I'm gonna write it down again this year. I also put this in my finance category, 1 to 2 investment projects. So something that you wanna invest in. I feel like most of the time it's gonna be a financial investment, obviously, because it's in your category, but it could also be something that you're putting your time into that's eventually going to be an asset. So all of those are gonna go in your finance category. All right, now we're gonna get into the personal category, which is actually the most fun. You also think that these ones don't really matter, but they totally matter. Now that I'm rereading my goals, I realize that I actually I thought my goal was 16 books a year, but I only wrote 15. So if I stay on track, I'm going to do 16 this month I'm going to do 16 this year because I actually thought until this moment that I had 16, not 15. But you know what? I got like 2 weeks left of the year, so I'm going to just like crush that. All right, here's my personal ones. I'm going to share a few of these with you so you can really open your mind to what your possibilities are with your personal goals for 2026. Let me back up a second because I wrote last year, I listen to podcasts all day long. Normally, they're not personal development or business growth podcasts like this one is, but you don't realize that it is maybe. I don't know. They were like murder documentaries and things that I really don't need to hear. But that's the one thing that keeps me on track every day is if I'm not listening to something, I'm like walking in circles and screwing off. So 2 years ago, I said I'm going to read 1 book a month, which I do audiobook because I don't ever sit down until right now, which I'm probably going to fall asleep in like 10 minutes if I don't get up. But the audiobook was life-changing for me because I was able to choose what skills I wanted to learn and focus on those. And another one, so if I'm going back to 2024, one of my personal goals was figure out what manifesting is because I was like, what the heck is manifesting? It's like daydreaming or it's like praying. Like I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know what it was. I'd heard about it, but I'd never really tried to actually do it or learn about it. Figure out how to manifest. I'm not kidding. That's literally what I wrote. I know that's not a measurable goal. Like everybody's like, it needs to be measurable. It needs to be like traceable. Yes, I think a lot of them need to be, but I feel like when you're getting into the personal ones, these are just like free-for-alls. The first book I started with actually was on manifesting. It was Super Attractor by Gabby Bernstein. It was amazing. I loved it. She's great. So if your goal right now, if you're writing down right now, figure out how to manifest and read 1 book a month, start with that one because I think that was a really good one for me to really understand. Okay, going back to this year, I did write manifesting and journaling 3 days a week, which that was one of mine. 2 big vacations. I don't know what we did this year. Oh, you know what? I was actually horrible at this year because Anthony tried to take me on vacation like 17 times and I kept saying no because I get so stressed when I get home. We go out of town for 3 days. We get home and I'm so behind. The house is falling apart. We have no food. Like I was like, I don't even want to go in somewhere right now. I feel like the past few years we did so much traveling that this is so like first world problems too. But I just was like, I am exhausted I don't want to call it like the vacation hangover, but when you get home from vacation, I was kind of a Karen on that this year, but I think we're still going to nail it because we're going to go somewhere for New Year's. And maybe that's going to be our second big vacation. Where else did we go? We went to Cabo. No, we didn't. We went to Puerto Vallarta. We went to New York City in February. I don't know if I'd call that a big vacation, but if I really need to, like check a box, I can count both of those. But we're going to go somewhere for New Year's, I think. And that is going to be my second one. Okay, wait, here's another personal one. Which after you listen to this podcast, you're going to be like, girl, you didn't get very good at that one this year. But I did in real life. Okay, I'm telling you. Listening without inputting. Hard self-check for me, okay? I've improved. That doesn't mean I mastered it this year, but I've improved. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up because nobody wants to listen to goals for an entire hour. But say you want a fitness category. I want to work out this many days a week. I want to meal prep. You can kind of build your systems out also. The fitness goals are cool because if you really need to, say you want to lose weight. In the systems, you can say like stop buying bread or whatever it is that is like your guilty pleasure. That's what you're going to put right there in that system. So to wrap it up, this is, your accelerated version of this course, but I like to have a word of the year, which I haven't thought about this year. I'm so excited to do this for 2026. It's hard to focus on anything else before Christmas. So I think in that weird lull that we're in between Christmas and New Year's, it's a good time to do it. But if you don't get to it till January 7th, that's fine. Like, I think we all have this like mental thing in our head where it's like, oh, I didn't do goals. And it's like, you're only 7 days into the year. You can still do them. You can do them if it's October 1st. It's fine. I like to do a word of the year every year. So here's an example. I'm going to give you what mine was last year. Mine last year was unbothered, which I actually feel like is like a stupid word. It's kind of annoying. I don't know why. It just sounds dumb. I wanted that word to really check me when I'm hanging on to something too long, whether I'm offended by something for too long, whether something somebody did pissed me off for too long, whether I was just like, why do they do that? Or I'm really upset about this, and you carry it for so long. It's like being unbothered by that, being like, you know what? They did that because that's what they do, and I don't really care what they do because that doesn't affect me, and even though it's annoying, I don't give a shit. Or in a business sense, like, this sucked and like this failed or this was bad, and being like, I'm not gonna drag that energy on. So it was like kind of disconnecting from the irritating things that really drain us. I'm gonna give you a few examples of word of the year. It could be connection, it could be networking, it could be discipline. There's so many different things that you can focus on that I think will make a huge difference towards your goals. So I think it needs to align with something that you either, from the beginning of this, decided that you were carrying and it was not a great habit to carry, a new habit that you're trying to get to, pick a word that's going to go with that, or something that's going to help push you to the goals. I hope this was helpful and therapeutic for you to reflect on all of your successes and growth, whether it seemed bad or good for 2025, what you're going to bring into 2026. I hope this motivated you. I hope this gave you a little spark and inspiration for pushing through these last few weeks of the year. Please DM me if this is something that you want to do together, because I am obsessed with doing it. I have a lot of really awesome guests on the docket right now for the next couple weeks. But next week, you are not going to want to miss, because all of you have been asking me to bring Anthony on the podcast, and we are bringing it home next week. Ooh, I also want to throw out, if you have someone that you think would be really good on the podcast, send me a DM also. I'm here for all the topics, all the people, all the conversations, all the businesses. So there is so much ahead, and I'm super excited about it. And now that I'm starting to think 2026, like, I cannot wait. So again, I'm Brittany Racine with Mike It Loud. Share this with your accountability partner. Share this with somebody who is ready to self-check before 2026. We'll see you next week.